9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, good morning, guys. So we are headed out to the shop this morning. Cannot see me at all. Oh, hi, how's it going? Not driving that today. Not driving that today. Not driving that today. Can't drive that today. Yeah, that's still up there. No, today we're going into the garage. Really overcast. Look at that. That's terrible. We're going into the garage today. We're going to be working on Austin's car today. We've got some wiring repair that we have finished up. Added 2 posts here, a positive and a negative. This right here goes back to the back of the car. And we didn't have anything up here to, like if he had a dead battery and he was backed into a parking spot, they would have to like jump off the battery or the starter terminal there. So we've got much more user-friendly here, negative, positive. Negative run down, tied into the original ground that's in the original wire harness that goes back to the transmission. And we were in here, the royal we, were in here taking a look at something. And I was getting a little bit deeper back here. Again, Austin bought this car and had, from what I understand, a gentleman some 10-15 years ago apparently did a lot of the work on this car. We don't have a bolt in the rear motor mount. There's just not one there. There's a Bluetooth motor mount bolt, which is awesome, isn't it? No, God! Random stuff. The EGR, we've got this is a screw, so quick lesson for EGR operation.
That's an education!
This is a vent. Okay? This is where the vacuum comes from. So this plugs into the intake manifold that sits up here, supplies vacuum to the upper solenoid. The upper solenoid, when the ECU says, hey, I want to operate the EGR, it moves vacuum, it opens up and allows vacuum to be applied from here into the back solenoid, which then goes to the actual EGR valve. And then the ECU says, hey, EGR valve, are you operating? And normally if it's plugged in, it'll talk to the ECU and say, yes, I'm operating. But what we've got here is a plug in this vacuum line. So what's that vacuum line? Well, when the EGR is not being used, the ECU tells this solenoid to release vacuum. Well, the problem is you can't release vacuum when vacuum is being applied right here. It still has vacuum, negative pressure in this line. So what it does is it shifts the other way, which then this vacuum then shuts off to this guy and vents out that guy. So vent, when we say vent, vacuum, what it actually means is it pulls ambient air pressure in, which then on the back side of the diaphragm here releases that negative pressure, which then allows the EGR valve to close. That's how it works, guys. Vacuum. I mean, we have aftermarket engine management in this car, so I'm not sure what the thought process was with regards to this. So we may do some tidying up with some of the vacuum lines anyway.
How dare you!
Worked back into there so that we can have the rear motor mount properly mounted. Good thing about having all sorts of bull crap is having the proper bolts. 2 of these located on the car. One on the upper transmission mount and one on the rear mount. It slides through, it's got a slot that it sits in, and then when you go to tighten it, it doesn't spin. Cool. So we've got, maybe we turn the light on. What? It is raining outside pretty bad. So we've got a rear mount. We're going to get it through. And then know that we've got to align the other side. So I'll just swing this guy, shake it around a little bit. I'll put you on a time lapse so you can see exactly how long I'm going to have to fight with this one bolt to get through the rear. It's going to be great.
No! God, please, no! 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 God, please, no! 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 No!
I'll tell you guys, if you're using any other gasket, stop. Go to Mazda, buy the gasket. Go to Ford, buy the same gasket. It's just in a Ford bag instead of a Mazda bag. But stop using junk valve cover gaskets. You don't, then you will have to do this more often than you should. This is flexible. And it stays flexible over time if it's a quality gasket. The other gaskets, sometimes they're not the right shape, sometimes they're not the right diameter, and then they get hard, and then you have to do all of this again. Stop it. Once you've got your valve cover gasket installed in your, hopefully, powder coated valve cover, you of course need to make sure you are installing the grommets. The grommets consist of a gasket under a washer on the top with a sleeve that goes through here. Now, let's talk about this for a minute. Here to here, this is a known measurement. And the torque spec that you're supposed to apply to the bolt to hold the gasket in between the valve cover and the head is a known number as well. But now we're going to go back and talk about different aftermarket. Well, I'm going to talk about this here first. Guys, it is not necessary to put this much RTV on these poor gaskets. I mean, just stop it. Specifically, you're only supposed to have a little kiss right here, right there, on the corners, same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then on the front, you're supposed to have a little bit here and a little bit here. Where it is a sharp 90-degree turn, where the gasket will have a hard time making that seal, give it a little kiss of RTV right there. It does not have a problem sealing across here. Now, because these are non-factory gaskets, there could have very well been an issue with how these things were sealing. But these are non-factory gaskets, and when you go to put the factory spec on them, they're not going to seal properly. Now, back to this. We're talking about the grommet and the little sleeve that goes in the grommet. Okay? This right here is an aftermarket sleeve. And if I come in here and grab one of these, see how they don't match? Do you see how they don't match? We'll pull down here. Do you see how they don't match? Focus. They do not match, and that poses a problem because remember, this is a known measurement. The depth of the gasket is a known measurement. So if you put a grommet in here that's not the right distance, and you try to apply the factory inch torques, not ugga-duggas. Stop using ugga-duggas when you're doing these tiny little bolts. When you are applying a proper amount of inch torques, here, inch pounds, to hold the gaskets properly, you have to make sure that you're using the proper sleeve. Because if your sleeve is not the right height, I've seen them shorter and I've seen them longer.
That's what she said.
The longer ones are even worse, because what happens with them is as you try to torque them down properly, a lot of times the aftermarket ones are going to be made out of aluminum instead of steel. You'll be able to see where they are actually pinched together, like it's just a piece of aluminum that's just been rolled into a sleeve. And when you go to tighten them down, they'll actually flare out, or they'll pinch in and they'll grab a hold of the bolt, or they'll splay out on the bottom and then deform your gasket. So it is very important to reuse these and to replace the grommets themselves, the little rubber grommet. That guy right there. Velcro, oddly enough, took the time to make sure they were using the original and not the aftermarket dimensions. So they have the original dimensions. They have new grommets. Comes with a nice cover. But you can only buy these, and you have to buy the longer ones separately. And remember, you've got 3 on the front valve cover, got 2 on the rear valve cover. So hopefully if you're doing valve cover gaskets, know that if you inspect these guys, you can actually reuse a lot of these. As long as the grommet itself is still supple,
That's what she said.
it'll go ahead and seal on the top. All you're trying to do is keep oil from coming out the top. That's all you're doing. When these are aftermarket and they get hard and they don't seal anymore, you start pissing oil out, and then your car smells like that garbage car at a stoplight burning oil. So that's my rant on the grommets. Right, so rear valve cover is installed, and what you need to keep an eye out for, you see how the OEM gasket just kind of rolls over here, does a little pooch there. That's what you're looking for. That's proper torque. So when you're seeing that, after you've clicked off with the proper amount of inch duggas, then you're good to go. Front valve cover next. let's go ahead and call it a night. It is dark outside, and I think I've got to a stopping point with the car today. Lots of things done, tedious things done. We got the valve cover gaskets installed. We did repair work this morning on the power supply, power distribution. Got those tidied up. We had to de-pin the alternator plug and get this high temp shielding onto the wire bit right here because of the hot pipes here. They had melted and cooked the wires from before. So I got this wrapped back up, back to OEM spec. What else did we do? The underside, we went ahead and installed the rear King 6. Working on the front King Fab 6 strut mount brace. Installed Scott's Transaver. It's up under here as well. Turn the light on for you. So you can see his Transaver happily installed there. King Fab 6 rear mount that takes advantage of mounting the rear of the transmission to a rigid structure. That's nice.
Very nice.
Went ahead and did some rust conversion spray on where the car had been trimmed to make room for the turbo pipe. Comes down here, loops around into the intercooler, and then, as we pointed out on the last video, lots of rust through here. So we've just got a very simple aerosol rust converter. I'll come back and undercoat everything, make that happy. Went ahead and didn't like the loop that the clutch line had here, so pulled the starter out and went to unloop this the way that it's supposed to be. And of course, find something else that needs repaired. You can see the clutch line. So we'll most likely reach out to Ray and get a replacement Goodrich style stainless steel line here. And then we'll go back in with the clip, because the clip was missing. I may go ahead and swap that out to an OEM bolt as well, while I have everything kind of missing and pulled out. We've got the fuel, an OEM fuel filter bracket back installed with a new fuel filter. The old fuel filter did have some pressure on it. It was, I don't know if you can see it, but down in here, it's got some crud down in there, so went ahead and replaced the fuel filter as well. But I'm tired. I'm done. Tomorrow, I'll start working on the brakes. Still need to get the replacement brake lines from Texas shipped out to me, but I already pre-sprayed the connections, so they'll come loose. We'll get these guys off, double back there as well, and we're going in with some hot goodness here. We've got big brakes, EBC greens, ready to go. I've got new couplers on the way. They are going to be switched over from blue to black. I think once we get it all together, the red and the black, as it all comes together, will complement each other nicely. Intake manifold as well. gonna go ahead and pull the injectors from the rails here and get them installed into the rails here so that that's all nice and happy. As you can see, these need to come over, and then this over here with the rest of the loose ends tidied up. I think we'll be good to go here shortly. But I am done. Have a good night, guys.